Hi ladies, I'm Pidge.
And I'm Mowen.
Welcome to the Night Shift Court podcast. We are two shift-working fantasy book lovers and love nothing more than leaving reality behind for a bookish adventure.
Join us as we go under the mountain to discuss our favourite fantasy fiction tales and the authors behind them.
Come with us to explore the stories, one shift at a time. Hi ladies.
Hi, welcome back.
Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome. Welcome back to all of you guys. This is episode 23. We're getting into the very final stages of A Court of Mist and Fury. So this episode will be visiting chapter 56 to 60. So we've just finished recapping chapter 55, which is a very famous chapter.
It is, yes.
It's very steamy.
I quite like chapter 56 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cassian comes back. They winnow back to the Illyrian camp where Cassian is waiting.
Yes.
So he knows what's happened. He knows what they've been doing.
Finally.
And he says to Rhys, well, it's about time.
Absolutely.
And then he deliberately goads Rhys into a fight, which Feyre doesn't realise to begin with, but then does and realises why Cassian's doing it, which, you know, there's obviously quite a lot of history between Rhys and Cassian just knows him so well.
Absolutely.
He knows, you know, even though Cassian doesn't have a mate himself, he knows how Rhys's reaction will be after finding his mate.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he helps him out.
He does.
By punching him in the face.
Yeah, I just think this
times.
is such a brotherly thing to do.
Yes.
Let's expel our energies.
Yeah.
And Feyre does enjoy it.
She loves a bit of feral Rhys, actually. Yeah, she watches for a little while. And the only reason she stops is because Moore gains her attention by saying, welcome to the family, Feyre.
Yeah.
Which is really sweet.
It is sweet. And I think that, you know, yes, it's an official welcome to the family in some sense, but I think she already felt part of it before this.
They go to winnow back to Valaris, but not before Feyre and Rhys remove the kitchen table's innocence. Or they leave, which is nice. I just can't wait.
They really can't. Have you ever, this is like private time now, have you ever been in a relationship whereby you've had to, you know, leave your friends or family through blind rage and the need for intimacy? It's a very odd thing, isn't it?
It is. Are you going to answer that question? Is it rhetorical?
It's just a very Faye thing to do.
It is, yes.
I would love to hear from someone in the real world.
Baser instinct.
Yeah, that has not been able to go and get ready for war
because they're too randy. Yes. Yeah.
If that's you, first, seek help. Second, let us know.
They go to dinner at the House of Wind that night and they do a very formal welcome.
A very formal welcome. It's a really nice, but also it would make me wildly uncomfortable, the oath that they then go on to say about serving and protecting and bowing for Feyre.
Yeah.
Not forgetting that this is just because she's mated, not because of a title that she's received or anything else, really.
Yeah, they go to have dinner and Rhys makes a remark about being, you know, absolutely starving, and Amren again comes out and she's like, about to say, you know, something really snarky, which is great. And Rhys is like, do not say what you were going to say. Which means she probably thought it in her head first.
Definitely.
And he's heard it and gone, do not say that out loud in front of anyone else.
I would advise against it.
So they have dinner and then that night they go to the mortal realm with the orb after tea, which, again, they're on a mission because after tea for me is clean
Your
up.
nightly affairs.
My nightly affairs. I'm not going out anywhere after tea. Like I'll go
Absolutely
out for
not.
tea and somewhere afterwards.
Sure.
But dinner at home, I'm not going out afterwards.
No, the washing gloves are on, the dishwasher is stacked and the kitchen is cleaned, and then it is time for a hairnet and a book and bed. Well, I don't know. Your nightly affairs does.
I'm fine with you wearing a hairnet.
No, I'm talking about you. Do you not? when you tend to your nightly affairs, like
Oh, like a silken one.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I could.
You
could. I could. And
Yeah.
I probably should
You
because
could
my
crochet
hair
one.
looks like Hagrid in the morning. So I
Really?
probably should wear, I should wear a silken hair cap.
you should.
Right.
Okay.
I'll get one.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
No worries.
So we'll move on. The queens arrive at the estate. So
Yes.
this is Nesta and Elaine's
Yeah.
estate. Only the oldest queen and the golden-haired queens come.
Yes.
So not all of them.
So a
are
total of 3 only.
there. Yeah.
Pretty poor turnout.
Which is even less than last time.
It is. So they say how the other 3 felt wildly offended by how Nesta behaved the last time they were there. Classic
They're
Nesta.
easily offended.
Sure. Nesta,
No, she's fine.
you love her.
I do.
You do. So Moore then brings out the orb and shows it to them. They then are aware of Valaris.
They are.
They
yeah.
don't buy it completely.
No, they don't. So the orb shows them like a film.
Yeah.
Like
A
a
slideshow.
like a pensive. You know the
Ooh.
pensive in Harry Potter where you
I do.
dip the tear, you put the tear in and then you put your head in it. So it's a bit like that without the tear and the head.
Roger. It's just
much
with
better-
an orb and your eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. Much easier, much less effort.
Do you know what I have an image of?
Okay, go.
Since that you've told me your image. You know, in that Friends episode where Ross is having a date with Rachel's sister, Jill, and he's showing her slides, but he's pretending they're getting busy and he shuts the curtain and he's like,
Yes, okay.
the dinosaur slideshow. This is how I imagine the orb is like projecting.
Right, like a projector. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I sort of imagine it like encompassing the room, you know. Anyway,
Oh, good.
so that happens
Yeah.
and the queens start questioning Feyre about her luck becoming immortal
Yeah.
and they start to refer to what happens to the children of the blessed, which we haven't heard a lot about since book 1.
Absolutely.
I had almost forgotten about them actually until they brought them up again. So they start to question her and they actually say, such a pity, so unfair to you, Cursebreaker, received what all those fools no doubt begged for, immortality, eternal youth.
Yeah. And we hear about the children of the blessed again later.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is like quite a scathing thing for one of them to say or someone else to say to Elaine and Nesta about their potential for falling in love with a handsome High Lord.
Yeah.
So
they're pretty reluctant still
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
offer any support at all to the mortals.
obviously Rhys tells them in depth about Valaris and says there's a place on his lands, a place of peace, art and prosperity. He obviously shows them and tells them he's kept it a secret for 5,000 years. The Queen say they'll think about it.
Rude.
Yeah.
And again, Nesta loses it. She, you know, just about has enough of these queens. This is the second time that they've come.
Yep.
And they're not doing anything. She can see the benefit of them giving the book over.
Yep.
But obviously the queens, I think she knows the queen's just being deliberately difficult about it. She ends up raging at them again and then has an emotional outburst, which she's a typical woman, right? Rage and then an emotional outburst afterwards. Cassian comes over to her and says to her, 500 years ago, I fought on the battlefields not far from this house. I fought beside human and fairy alike, bled beside them. I will stand on that battlefield again, Nesta, to protect this house, your people. I can think of no better way to end my existence than to defend those who need it most.
Wow.
Which is like such a huge statement from him, and Moore recognises the significance of this statement. And Feyre notes that Moore's looking at Cassian with awe. She's always assumed that Cassian and Moore were lovers or in love to some capacity. And then so she watches how that sort of a statement affects Moore. And it doesn't affect her at all. She's looking at Cassian with awe.
Yes.
And I think that this is the moment where Moore realises something about Cassian and Nesta, which is important, but we won't talk about until a little bit later on.
Yeah, I just got a little bit goosebumpy. So, yes.
Queens leave now. They've decided they've had enough.
The other thing that I found really interesting is Cassian comes up to Nesta after he says this and wipes a tear from her eye. And that's quite an intimate thing to
It
do,
is.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So yes, the queens depart, but the inner circle are already convinced that they'll say no. The young golden-haired queen managed to leave a box behind.
She dropped a handkerchief or something, like a lace handkerchief or something on the floor. Yeah.
And then, obviously left a box there. And
She did
Reese.
she did the bend and snap. She did. Didn't she? She did the bend and snaps.
Reese noticed this. Doesn't miss a trick, old Reese
It
boy.
never misses anything, does he?
And he just, after that point, he shut the fuck up.
He's like, everyone else, shut up.
Everyone needs to leave.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
Stop,
Cassian.
Stop, Cassian. Stop protesting your love.
Nesta, shush. Everyone get out. Because he knows she's left the goddamn book.
Yeah.
They need to bug off.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So he's like, right, I'm not going to say anything. And obviously she snuck it there because she resonates with everything that they're trying to do. She's young and she's fresh and she's innovative and she understands.
Yeah.
So
She's Gen Z.
she is.
Is she Gen Z or millennial? Which
Look,
is next?
I'm confused about who I am, let alone the golden head queen.
Okay, fair.
So she snuck the book there. A letter from her says she believes everything that they've said and believes in peace. And if anyone asks, he stole the book because she doesn't want
She doesn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she tells him don't trust the other witches and that the sixth queen was not ill during the first meeting.
Yeah.
So it's all very mysterious.
Yeah. I sort of knew they were corrupt after the first meeting.
Deaf.
And so I was glad that it was verified. They gave me the grosses.
The heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Yep. So Reese then tells Nesta and Elaine that they can come to Valaris and stay there, but if they choose not to, he will guard them. He will send a guard to stay at the estate with them.
Yeah. And you've got to remember as well, that's probably quite significant because as far as we're aware, there's no humans in Valaris.
No humans really in Prithian other than the children of the blessed who are like in search of a handsome high lord.
Yeah.
Really.
Like, and Reese has always wanted to remove the divide between high fae and lesser fae.
Yeah.
But he's never, as far as we're aware, invited a human because they only exist in the Blacklands.
Yes, that's right.
So,
as slaves.
Exactly. Reese gently says to Nesta, my home is your home. The door's always open if you change your mind. And Nesta looks to Feyre and says, that was why you painted stars on your drawer. So after the queens, they return to Valaris and pretty immediately Reese and Moore go to the Court of Nightmares to return the orb. It's been missing long enough.
It has.
With Reese and Moore gone, Feyre is on her own until Cassian and Asriel come over for the night and they've come to stay.
Yeah, they have. They've packed their suitcase.
Yeah. Feyre realises that she thinks they're there to protect her and obviously to keep her company, but more so to protect her. And she writes one of her magical notes to Reese about it. He basically says, look, this is pretty standard and it's going to continue to happen. Yeah. So if you kick their asses out of the house, they'll just sit on the roof.
It's pretty cute, isn't it? Yeah.
And so she doesn't kick them out of the house. She just puts up with them.
It's nice of her.
Yeah. The next day, Cassian and Feyre go off to see a symphony, which is really cute.
I think so too. Like in the midst of all of this like turmoil and like impending war and stuff, that they still manage to, I don't know whether it's stupid or clever, that they do obviously go and do something nice. But I really struggle with the fact that they've like told someone about Valaris for the first time in 5,000 years and they're not on like tenterhooks about shit.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm the same. Like part of me is like, oh, and the other part of me is like, oh, it's quite nice for your relationship. You can go and spend time together and do normal things, and maybe that's their break from reality is, going to a show.
Yeah, you can't live in fear, can you?
Yeah. So they're walking back to the townhouse, but they do stop into Amren to give her more blood. And at this point, she has both halves of the book. So she basically snatches it away and says, thank you and get the hell out. Slams the door.
Love her.
So, yeah, they leave Amren's house and then they continue walking back, and they stop at the top of the bridge, the same bridge that Rhys and Feyre had stopped on that night after dinner.
Standing on the bridge, and suddenly they see black things flying in the sky, and they're sort of heading towards Valaris, and Feyre notes that it resembles what the atoll looks like.
See, when I first read it, I thought Dementors.
Well, yeah. The creatures are making good time towards their location, and Feyre immediately is like, right, the queens have sold us out. So it's too much of a coincidence for a black cloud to be flying towards a city that is a secret. So she realises that they've been done over, and that the King of Highburn is ultimately responsible for what is floating towards them at this point.
Well, nothing has ever breached the wards.
Exactly.
As far as they're aware. And Feyre actually only just becomes, or only notices it because she feels a shift in the current.
Yeah.
It's in the water underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
Which I also note that Cassian felt something, and he was the first one that said, I think he said, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And so it made me think of two things. And one is I can see the connection between Feyre and the water magic that she has.
Yes.
That Cassian must be somehow tied to the wards.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have that magic as far as we're aware.
That's
so
right.
he must be linked in some way. And as far as we're aware, Feyre doesn't have a link to the wards in any way, apart from the fact that she's Rhys's mate, but that she felt a shift in the current, in the water from it.
Yeah.
So they've both felt something differently but the same.
I wonder if Rhys feels the wards being penetrated and sends it.
Ooh, not
them.
a good enough reason to use the word penetrate. I will attempt to penetrate your mind and you will attempt to resist.
Your senses. I will teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, and even put a stopper in death. Okay, back to regular programming. So the atoll-like creatures are floating quickly towards their location, and one of them calls 000.
And either Maria or myself are at the end of the line saying, man, can you calm down?
What is the exact address? Valaris, sorry, don't have it.
How do you spell that?
Is it also known as?
Can you give me the suburb and postcode? No, I need you to say it to me.
The exact address. Okay. Right. So.
I wonder if Rhys feels the wards being penetrated.
So one of my theories is that Rhys feels the wards being broken or breached and sends the message through the bond. And obviously we know that Rhys has the ability to enter minds. I reckon he could also implant with, no bond essentially with Cassian. He would also be able to put that image into his mind and make them think about the potential threat that's happening.
Yeah.
So the creatures moving in on their location, and Feyre says, yeah, they look like the Ator essentially. One of them drops the body of the young golden-haired queen.
I was actually a bit sad
Same.
about that.
Yeah. And she's impaled on a lamppost and dies. It's quite brutal, a very brutal end to queen, a mortal queen.
Because she was
big
alive.
statement.
Because Feyre actually says she feels her death whisper past.
Yeah, awful. And the creature says that they've been sent from the mortal queen, Endurian. So we know who's responsible for the breach on Valaris. Feyre runs to protect the artist quarter. So Cassian's like trying to take her away and put her in the House of Wind.
Yeah.
And she's like, absolutely not.
Yeah. She makes a big decision.
Big decision. Yeah. And also the fact that he doesn't argue with her, love that, because she's very used to people saying absolutely not, you will be locked away and whatever with the Spring Court.
You can remember as well that Cassian can winnow.
Yes.
So he could have just grabbed her.
He could have taken her.
And winnowed. I mean, he can't winnow directly into the townhouse, but he could winnow to the front lawn.
That's right.
Right?
Yep. And
So-
get her out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Doesn't do that.
No.
And also, I think that he genuinely does realise how powerful she is or can be.
Yeah.
Hasn't obviously learned to wield all of her potential powers yet. It's all
Yep.
very new, but she has the capability and she's always prompted by or
Emotion.
spurred on by emotion and anger. And when she feels something strongly, she's able to sort of really click into like harnessing her power.
Yeah.
Naturally, she's very tied to Valaris. She knows and he knows that she's going to do the absolute most to protect like he is and everybody else.
That's right.
So, yeah, she runs to protect the artist quarter because she obviously feels very tied to that area, those people and what it represents. She uses her power to make wolves from the water and other animals to chase down and kill these creatures.
Yep.
She sees the atoll and she's like, right, you're mine.
Before she actually winnows above the atoll, Reese starts talking to her. So he's obviously arrived or is in proximity. He's, saying, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And she's just like, she actually says, in her mind, she says, I'm exactly where I need to be, and then puts up her mental shields.
Yeah.
Which
strong.
is, yeah.
Like,
yes.
You're out.
Yeah. And her sole focus at that point is the atoll. She winnows into the sky above it, and in her hand, she has 3 ash arrows that she's picked up along the way.
Yeah.
They both begin to free fall once she lands on top of it. They start tumbling down to the ground, and she stabs it 3 times with her arrows, once for Reese, once for Claire, and once for her.
Yeah.
And then she does something that I love, which she whispers into its ear just before it crashes into the pavement, is "see you in hell."
Oh,
Which is great, but it also makes me think that she has truly not forgiven herself for the bad things that she's done, as in killing those fae, because she thinks she's going to hell.
I know.
And that she'll see the atoll there.
That gobsmacked me, that statement. And I don't think I picked it up the first read.
Neither.
Because it's kind of like a throwaway comment, very much overused in movies and whatever.
That's right.
But when you reread it and you're dissecting it, you're like, that's actually true. She truly thinks that's where she's going to end up, which after all this time, she preaches to Reese about the good in him after all of the evil he's had to endure.
Yeah.
And says, you're good, you're good, you're good. And she's mated to him. And then she still thinks that her life's been so bad that she's going to end up in hell. Sad, really.
It is, yeah. So she winnows at the last second, which is so controlled for her because we've not seen a lot of control with her winnowing. It's a bit hit and miss. Like you said, emotionally charged right now.
Yeah.
She winnows away at the last second, leaving the atoll to crash into the pavement, and she takes a little bit to catch up with her body. So she stumbles backwards and hits a brick wall, and sort of the plaster cracks around her. So it was obviously high impact.
Yes.
And Reese appears at that point in front of her. So I didn't realise at the time that she had put up her mental shields and that he was trying to get in.
Yeah.
But he's obviously figured out where she is.
Yes.
Somehow.
Who knows how, but the mating bond is very mysterious.
Yeah. And he places a gentle kiss on her mouth and calms her down at that point because she's still got her powers writhing around her at the moment.
Yeah.
And then she cries and cries and cries and cries.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
It is.
And warranted. So they all gather back at the townhouse after the wards have been re-established. I think it's 3 a.m.
Yes.
And as shift workers, we know that not a lot good happens after 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's usually a lot of profanity and a lot of silly giggles.
That's right, yeah. Reese tells Feyre mind to mind what Amren used her dark powers for while they were protecting Valaris.
Very impressive.
Yeah, yes, you'll have to go and read it.
Yeah, that's a must read, that bit.
Amren announces that she'll stay to protect Valaris while the others go to Highburn. And I noted this down as probably means quite a lot because now that we know, well, I know what Amren wants to use the cauldron for, the fact that she has foregone her opportunity to send everybody else says a lot about Amren and her loyalty, essentially.
I think this could have gone one of two ways. You could have either have sent Amren and Feyre only, and everyone else stay behind, or the way they actually do it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really interesting the way it's been written, which we'll obviously talk about in just a second, what ends up, or next episode actually.
Yeah.
Does Amren not trust herself to go? Yeah. There's a lot to unpack.
Book is you'll realise. If you haven't read it, you read the next book.
Yeah.
So Feyre has a bath and heads upstairs to find Rhys on the roof, and they have a little chat about the fact that he's actually proud of her for shielding against him.
Yeah.
And they do it amongst the potted shrubs.
Sexy.
Yeah, like cold. Though it's winter.
Yeah, it is winter.
Cold.
But I mean, he can make them warm.
True. From the inside.
Oh, okay.
So Amren arrives the next morning and she tells Feyre how to nullify the cauldron and that she must touch it and speak the words that she's written down for her on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
She warns Feyre not to put the two halves of the book together because you'll draw enemies far older and far more wretched, things that have long been asleep and should remain so. What?
What does this mean?
Again, it makes me wonder what Amren is, where she comes from, how old she is.
This makes me think of other series too.
I think she is one of these awful things that her loyalty has been swayed to Rhys.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think they've been friends for a really long time and we still haven't read about how they met and how they became friends. But I think she's this awful, old, horrible thing and that she's now loyal to Rhys.
Once we've completed the series, I really want to do a character-specific breakdown of Amren and more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So after this, they decide whether they are or aren't going to go to Highburn because essentially Rhys has to stay behind, or not behind, but away. And that Cassie and Azriel, Moore and Feyre will go in together.
Yeah.
So they decide they're going. He says, if you want to go, then you go, Feyre.
Yeah.
Go, Glen Coco.
You go, girl.
I just mean girls. You go, Glen Coco.
Yeah.
Go.
I love it.
So Feyre now heads upstairs. She's pretty tired. 3 a.m.
As you do.
Yeah. You know, you've got enough energy for the... Anyway, she doesn't know which room to go to, and Rhys appears and says, either your room or mine, but we're sharing one from now on.
Yeah, just tell me whose clothes am I moving sort of thing. Oh, yeah, love that. So they share a bedroom and he gifts her his mother's ring.
Yeah.
Yes, and you can buy very sexy replicas of this ring.
Yes, you had told me that the other day.
They keep popping up on my For You page on Instagram.
Oh.
So this is the ring that she retrieved from the Weaver's cottage, your favourite. He says his mother gave it to him to remind him that she was always with him. Lovely. Him and his mother have a very beautiful relationship. She gave it to the Weaver and told him that if he were to marry or mate, that she would have to be smart enough or strong enough to get it back, of which Feyre is both. She said if she were neither, that she would not survive the marriage.
How did Rhys's mum approach the Weaver with this ring?
This is what I don't get.
I was like, did she just turn up and knock on the door and be like, excuse me?
I reckon if you bring something to the Weaver, then the Weaver's like, cool.
Yeah,
because
I won't eat you.
It's valuable, right? So she's like, cool. It's the retrieving that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So that makes me think if yes, okay, Rhys wanted to test Feyre's tracking ability to get the ring.
Yeah.
Was also testing her to see if she could retrieve the ring for selfish purposes, which he does say to her, which is totally fine. I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Because he needs to know, right? He waited long enough.
He has.
So basically, I think that perhaps if Feyre had taken something of value, could she have just gone, here you go, and grabbed the ring and fucked off? That would have been epic.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll never know.
No, never.
I mean, unless I meet Sarah, I will ask her that.
A Weaver. I want a Weaver book.
I want a Weaver episode.
Yeah.
Okay. He promised her that any potential bride would be given the test. So he said to his mother, I will do this. I will make sure that my bride is tested appropriately.
Yeah.
Feyre tells Reese that after they nullify the cauldron, because they're, that's easy to do, she wants to do it all. So she wants to marry him. She wants to have the bond declared and she wants to have a big party.
Cute.
Reese responds with a question. And if I wanted to go one step beyond that?
That's it for this episode of the Night Shift Court podcast. Join us for next week's episode where we will continue the adventure from ACOTAR's Book 2, A Court of Mist and Fury.
Whichever platform you're listening on, we would so appreciate if you could give us a 5-star review. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Night Shift Court.
I hope the night is kind.